Doesn't matter the country where you live, I wanted to ask you, have you ever wanted to buy something that you really like, but you realize that you pretty much don't have any money left after paying bills this month? Why does this happen to so many? And why are some people broke and some got rich having the same starting point and similar income? For example, I'm living in Singapore and everyone says Singapore is so expensive, but it's just not true. I think it's quite cheap. In this video, I'll prove to you why. Also, you learn how you can save more money and obtain money habits like Singaporeans, citizens of one of the richest countries on earth. I feel like Singaporeans combine financial habits from Germans, Japanese and Americans. For example, many Singaporeans do budgeting of their weekly spendings to follow a fixed timetable for savings. This one feels very German to me, but it's handy. You start with watching and controlling your monthly spending, then you start planning it, and then you can relax when you finally got very rich. Some people call Singaporeans thrifty, some call them frugal, but what I know for sure, they tend to be very particular about saving money. What for? To buy a crazy expensive car in Singapore? To afford $20 Negroni at the bar? To attend KTV more often? No, to invest. Singaporeans do like to invest. I would say their top interest in properties. I guess because the initial idea of first Singapore's Prime Minister was to make people own their place instead of renting. I explained other ideas of Mr. Lee Kuan Yew in that video about why Singapore is so rich. Another reason why investments in real estate are so desirable for Singaporeans is that a lot of wealth has been made on it in 80s and 90s. Probably it's not the case anymore, but people still believe in real estate. In general, Singaporeans avoid renting and either live with parents, grandparents, or buy property themselves. The next prevalent investments for Singaporeans is in stock market. That's why there are so many offers on the market from brokers like Tiger Brokers, Moomoo, Interactive Brokers and others. And actually trading is a big thing in Singapore. Important disclaimer, trading is not investing. It's a full-time job, or at least a part-time side hustle. My young spikeball buddy told me that the chances that a random student trades is quite high. It can be crypto or just stocks. Guys, is it true that so many Singaporeans do trading? Tell me in the comment section below. Managing family expenses. Joint account for spouses is pretty common in Singapore. People like to contribute equally and reserve for family expenses. I think it's a great approach when you know that you and your partner have provided for your family this month. And then if you want a pair of new sneakers or handbag, you just go for it with no resentment from any side. There are a lot of dual income families with joint account contributions in Singapore. I think it's pretty hard to survive on a single income if you're a big family. But I still consider Singapore to be a not very expensive place.
Are you kidding?
Let me explain you why, so you don't think I'm crazy. Firstly, you can eat here very cheaply because of hawker centers, aka food courts. $4 lunch is a very normal thing in Singapore. It's just $3 and your lunch will be actually good and not junk food. Of course, there are plenty of Michelin star restaurants in Singapore, but you are not physically forced to go there, is it? Secondly, transportation. Buses and MRT are super affordable compared to other big cities. And again, they are nice, clean and reliable. Taxis cheaper than in US, London or Tokyo. 20 minutes ride which brings you anywhere in a non-rush hour would cost you like $12, which is just 9 USD. Thirdly, accommodation. Of course, if you wanna live in a nice fancy condo, you need a good budget. But again, most Singaporeans live in HDB. To rent a studio, you would pay around 2K a month for a nice unit not far from the city center. It's less than 1,500 American dollars. That's not bad at all. On top of that, many young and not so young Singaporeans live in multi-generation households, either for free or paying a small amount to their parents. So I really believe that basic normal life in Singapore is not expensive at all. Again, if you compare it to other big cities. Okay, let's go back to Singaporeans' money habits. When going out with friends, Singaporeans almost never ask for separate bills. Most common is one person will pay first and the rest will pay now to that person, send money via the app. Or it's also quite often when friends offer to pay for the bill and there is an unspoken agreement to alternate the arrangement. I like this approach very much. In some countries it's the opposite. After dinner, each friend calculates their own spending and pays just for themselves separately. Nah. But when having a date, it becomes a bit more tricky. Who pays the bill? I asked a few of my Singaporean friends and it seems like before the general practice was the guys to pay.
The check, please.
But now for younger generation, it becomes more and more normal when a couple splits the bill. Giving money to parents is generally considered important. I watched a video from a Singaporean YouTuber on a channel called Fatful. Two girls in their 20s discussing expenses in Singapore and they both give $200 to their parents every month. 100 each lot. This is actually quite unusual from a Western perspective. Of course, people help their parents in Europe or the United States, but perceived it more as a goodwill present, but no obligation. Another funny thing is that Singaporeans can sometimes ask very direct money-related questions in public, especially when talking about properties. A friend told me a story. I was at a barbecue and one Singaporean asked an American guy, "So how much is the valuation of this place?" The American guy starting sputtering and a face went red. That's so funny. But to other Singaporeans, that question would be similar to talking about the stock market, you know, just normal. Oh yeah, there is one crazy thing about Singaporeans regarding their finances. It's their willingness to spend on cars. Despite the ridiculous car prices, there are still so many car lovers among Singaporeans, even with an average income. That's crazy. By the way, I wanted to do a quick shout out for Brenda Tan. I got a lot of inspiration about personal finance topics from her channel, especially from this video. Okay, but what about cash in Singapore? Is still needed or not? Well, I'm an old school guy, so I still carry some cash around just in case. I don't know, if I suddenly decide to go to KTV. To be honest, it's not needed anymore. You can pay with your phone using your debit or credit card, Pay Now, PayLah, GrabPay, etc. So even a bank card is not needed to be carried around. But wait, actually bank cards are still useful as a waiter normally takes away your card to make a transaction at a restaurant. Actually, I would prefer if they just bring a machine together with the bill so you can pay with your phone. Okay, if we summarize how Singaporeans treat personal finance and how I do, there are 3 quick tips on saving and investing more money. Don't spend more than you earn. Singaporeans are quite good at it. A Singaporean millennial saves 20% of their salary and the average person in the European Union or the US saves just 5%. A general rule of thumb, save enough cash for your emergency fund to live 3 to 6 months if you lose your income. Second one, start learning about finance and investments as early as possible. I personally started to think about it when I was 30 years old already. Before, that was pretty common for me to live paycheck to paycheck and sometimes borrow money from my roommate when I was in my 20s. Thank you, Serge, appreciate it. One thing that helped a lot, I started to write down my spendings and I was doing it for the whole year. Then I stopped, but it became crystal clear for me how I actually spend money and how I can save more. Another thing was to start investing. I began with ETFs and I think that's the very right thing to start your investment portfolio. The third tip would be don't do impulse buying. We do a lot of paid marketing campaigns for my company as well. And I know how professional marketeers are good with sucking money out of your pocket. So just be careful when watching the next Instagram story with the best on the market champagne opener or a vegetable cutter. And please subscribe to this channel if you need more money in your life. See ya!